I mean, a lot of speculation, and education was spared, but even that being spared is a significant reduction, because without sufficient focus on the kind of funding our kids need, we will be in a very, very difficult and dire situation. It is so short-sighted to continue to underfund education in terms of the long-term health and well-being of California, both in terms of workforce development, but also in terms of the shift in spending that we've seen over these last 30 years to now being nearly #1 in prison spending and almost last in education spending per kid. We are making a decision about the kind of state we want to be. My job as a superintendent is to really create the conditions for both fiscal and academic solvency, to blend a healthy, fiscally sound organization that runs with the academic core that serves every kid. The kind of funding that's happening in public schools in California is absolutely criminal. That we are underfunding children, and those kids in greatest need and those families in greatest need are actually paying the biggest price. And that fundamental inequity, it hasn't been discussed well enough or focused on enough. So the fact that we're now 47th or 48th, soon to be even lower than that, has a very negative, detrimental effect, I think, on our future well-being as a state.
At this point in time, the funding that we are getting from the state for public education in California is completely inadequate to do a high-quality job of educating our students. And it's even worse in districts where there are a lot of special challenges and more difficult challenges than we have. But if you want to do a high-quality job, which I think we've successfully been able to do in Piedmont, you have to have a certain level of funding to support good teachers, support services, and so on. And that's not where we are today.
The Senator has always championed education as the pipeline by which we'll always be economically vibrant in the state of California. She champions career tech education. She knows that, as the superintendent mentioned, that without good schools, you don't have vibrant communities and you don't have economic development. With regards to funding of education, I mean, that's something that she's always believed in. She also knows that we have a huge challenge with public safety. We have a recidivism rate that's very high, which means that we have a lot of people who come out of jail and go back into jail for a lot of different reasons that she recognizes. And what she's going to do is look at ways in which we can keep people out of prison, educate them as well, in a lot of ways by funneling, redefining and funneling monies in different ways in which it's most effective.
Well, we have an incredible opportunity, I think, to provide ways to engage, to talk about what we want for all of our kids. I think that if you go and try to tell people what you're going to do for them is different than ask what people are interested in and need. So part of the work is asking communities what's been working for you, what hasn't, and creating a place that people feel like they belong. I'm talking about a pattern that's been established now over the last 3 decades, so a structural racialized pattern where African American children born in West Oakland are 2.5 times less likely to be vaccinated by the time they get to kindergarten, 4 times less likely to be at grade level, 4 times less likely to be at grade level by 4th grade, 7 times less likely to graduate from high school. Talking about in the end, this is a data set now compiled by the Alameda County Health Department, 15 years fewer life expectancy. So when and then we're talking about a data set comparing white children born 2 miles away and African American children born in West Oakland. Those patterns of deep racialization by zip code and ethnicity are fundamentally unacceptable. Education is, in my mind, that's why I choose to do it, the place where you make the most positive change. And obviously, we have choices and actions to take, But if we continue to choose to underfund the place where we're actually going to create a thoughtful, engaged democracy and citizenry, I mean, we know the outcome. So unless we do something fundamentally different, we're going to keep getting this outcome. And the time is coming where we're going to have to take some much more focused action, I think. College for career or career for college. I mean, there are lots of folks who start working so that they can go to college, and lots of folks who go to college so they can get a job, right? I mean, it's not, college isn't the end, and unfortunately, we get in a lot of debates about, well, college or career, or college or career, and you gotta graduate kids first. Every kid should graduate from high school. I think volunteerism is essential, but we can't misrecognize the fact that it's essential for every school already. It's just that we need to find other ways to have more structured volunteerism in schools where we lack that already.
This is where we can deploy our volunteer human resources in whatever school there is a need.
Without a proper education system, we're not going to have the workforce development or the workforce, the kind of human capital that we need to be able to do well in 15, 20 years. And I think that we can't be short-sighted. We have to look at what's going to happen in 15 or 20 years if we don't have kids graduating, if kids are unprepared for the future.
We've got to stay committed, working for optimistic for children. One of the things that I really, this might sound harsh, I deeply believe that cynicism is intellectual cowardice. I think that if you believe that it won't work and that it's a mess and stay stuck there, that it's a failure of our creativity and our agency. That we have amazing power and we have to figure out how to create the conditions for our children. We must do that. This is their shot. So as adults, as thoughtful and caring citizens, this is our charge. And it really is terrible, the time that we're in, and yet we must find a way to be creative and generative